Watch this.
It's Friday. You know what that means? Time to end the week here on the 208. We'll start with this. Give the people what they want. But what do the people want? Well, the Boise State Public Policy Survey dropped today to tell us what constituents want out of this year's legislative session, and it hasn't changed so much since last year. We'll dive in.
Really hoping that one of these puppies likes me and I like them.
Now on Fridays here on the 208, we're going beyond the 208 to highlight some of the biggest and best stories from our neighboring states too. First up, a Seattle Humane Society just got a lot fuller after taking in Southern California's foster animals.
So we get to go in and let them have some moments with the dogs, and I'm really looking forward to that because it's just our way of giving back.
And Spokane, Washington is sending down some of their best breeds of talent to Los Angeles to help those in the center of sadness. Oh, it's Friday. You made it through the week. The weekend is in view. And welcome to this new and shiny Friday edition of the 208 called Beyond the 208. Beginning right now, every Friday, not only are we going to look at the biggest and best stories here in Idaho, but we're also going to peek over the border, take a look at our neighboring states to see some of the best stories in the West. So if you were confused by the new graphics, now you know. You can see it says beyond. So when we say beyond, we're going beyond the border. So tell your friends this is going to be a lot of fun. And do not worry, standard 208 stuff still part of the show. Live comments, legislature, reaction, coverage, everything you need to know. And of course, we'll cover our area code to keep up with the latest. So let's start with the legislature here on a Friday. What actually went on in week 2 of the legislative session? Here it is in this week's Legislative Wrap. Week 2 of the 2025 legislative session picked up on an idea that didn't make the mark in 24. The Uniform Public Expression Protection Act takes on SLAPs, strategic lawsuits against public participation, a legal strategy to wrap people up with costly court costs to prevent them from speaking out on something or someone.
It sets clear rules for quickly dismissing cases that are baseless. It allows the winning side to recover their legal costs, including attorney fees, resolve SLAPs faster and more efficiently.
Legislation was approved for printing and now proceeds to a full hearing and testimony. Tuesday, lawmakers took on immigration policy for the first time. House Bill 11 would allow local law enforcement officers to check and document the citizenship status of anyone involved with the crime. That person has to be involved with the crime, not just a suspicion of legal status. Critics worry the idea may be an overreach.
Number one, this just clearly violates the supremacy clause of the Constitution. Right? Immigration law is federal law, and states don't get to overwrite that.
Legislation was printed and heads to State Affairs for full consideration. Halfway through the week, another repeat for 2024. A new run at mandatory minimum fines for possession of marijuana, 3 ounces or less. A minimum fine of $300, but it wouldn't be applicable to those under the age of 18. Critics of the idea argue this is cherry picking.
If House Bill 7 is passed, it would be disproportionate to all other misdemeanors in the state of Idaho, and it would single out this one specific crime. There is no other minimum fine I could find for a misdemeanor in the state of Idaho under these statutes.
The proposal made it out of committee and is now in front of the full House waiting for a vote. Thursday, Senator Melissa Wintrow brought a personal bill that has been with her for a decade. She's again attempting to add the words sexual orientation and gender identity to the Idaho Human Rights Act, something that has been an uphill battle at the legislature, voted down or not heard fully on an annual basis.
To ensure that people aren't discriminated against in their housing, employment, or public service for who they are or who they love. And I can't believe I'm here today, 10 years later, and we still haven't protected people's rights.
The legislation is a personal bill, meaning it may not come again this session.
That we are not here for profit, but to serve the people of Idaho.
Finally, on Friday, the Idaho Senate took the first step in rejecting a pay raise. Lawmakers are set to receive a about $5,000 raise that was approved last fall by a committee of citizens. But Idaho law does have a provision that allows lawmakers to reject a pay raise within the first 25 days of the legislative session. Both the Senate and House has to approve the rejection. Weird sentence, but that's how it goes. Will the House follow? Stay tuned. And that's a legislative wrap. So before we go beyond the 208, let's take inventory on what's going on in our fine state. The TikTok ban is impacting local businesses, and Idahoans are headed to D.C. Tomorrow, there'll be a major march all over the country, including here in Boise. Abby Davis has that and more in the 411.
About a year after a hangar collapse near the Boise airport, killing 3 workers and injuring 8 others, the contractor in charge of construction when it collapsed is giving it another go. Public records show Big D Builders is once again the contractor on the project, and construction is already back on. The Supreme Court decided today to uphold the law requiring TikTok's U.S. operations to be sold to an American buyer to keep the app in the U.S. And local business owners aren't happy about it. Jeanette Leva, owner of Leva Beauty, says 90% of their sales come from TikTok.
I've had people as far as from Washington come over here and let me know like they found me on TikTok.
If the app is not sold, it could become unavailable to download or install updates by Sunday, potentially making it unusable at some point. President-elect Donald Trump announced on social media that Mike Boren, an Idahoan who founded Clearwater Analytics, will serve as the United States Undersecretary for Natural Resources and Environment, which is in the Department of Agriculture. A reminder, this Monday is the second inauguration of Donald Trump. You can watch that right here on Channel 7 and on KTVB+. Happening tomorrow, the annual Idaho Women's March rally at the Capitol. It coincides with rallies and marches happening across the country. Here in Boise, the rally starts at 2 o'clock on the State House steps with speakers and entertainment. That's the 411 on the 208. I'm Abby Davis.
Today in the 208, the Boise State Public Policy Survey was released, and it's the 10th annual report that gives us a better idea of what the everyday Idahoans want to see lawmakers address this session. Boise State asked that of 1,000 Idahoans in 42 of 44 counties in the state, this year excluding Clark and Cluster County from the sample. And although most priorities do remain consistent, a big surprise, a change in optimism. For the first time since 2018, Idahoans at large think the state is heading in the right direction. Keep in mind, the survey was taken the Saturday after the general election, so November 9th to the 14th, and it indicates Idaho was happy with the results. Aspen Shumpert learned more about what the people of the Gem State want.
We're wrapping up week 2 of this year's legislative session with a better idea of what Idahoans want addressed.
For the last 10 years that we've asked this, education has been the top scoring priority.
The annual Boise State Public Policy Survey indicates Idahoans' priorities haven't changed much.
I think Idahoans have shown over time that education issues are just the number one thing that they want to see get done.
For some, that means increased pay for teachers. For others, more money for facilities.
It tends to be the thing that most drives people to kind of get out there and make their opinions heard every legislative session.
But what about the discussion around school choice?
Wealthy families already have school choice. They, regardless of their address, regardless of what their public school is or isn't offering, they can afford to send their child to another option. Low-income families don't have that opportunity, and this bill will create that.
We wanted to avoid using the school choice terminology because it can mean different things to different people.
So they kept it broad this year and asked, do you support or oppose the use of tax dollars to help pay for private or religious education if a parent chooses not to send their child to a local public school?
Generally what we found is that 53% of Idahoans said that they would oppose such a policy.
Last year, more people supported using public money for private school tuition, but not if they knew it would take money away from public schools. Another consistent concern in the Gem State, healthcare. This year, more people saw it as a more important issue than housing.
Healthcare retook the number 3 spot this year. It had been behind housing up till now, but it did see some movement up this year.
The majority also believe access to healthcare is more difficult these days. But what about access to healthcare for pregnant women?
We continue to have the most severe and extreme abortion ban in the country.
Once again, most Idahoans believe Idaho's near total ban needs to be changed.
See that we tended to cross majority threshold among Idahoans who favor abortion access through at least the first trimester. And then in terms of exceptions, we hit majority support where exceptions are expanded to include the health of the mother and non-viable pregnancies.
A response very similar to last year's results that showed the majority also wanted changes, seeing most support for giving an exception to the first trimester.
For the most part, BSU researchers say issues that the public want to see addressed align with what we've seen in previous years. More of those priorities include tax relief. And Joe, when asked where they would like to see that tax relief, most of the majority responded property tax. So that's where they indicated wanting some of that release. Again, 2 weeks into the session, still a lot more conversations around public policy.
And I know the House Speaker Mike Moyle, who has a lot of influence down at the State House, says they want to cut taxes, property taxes, income taxes, sales taxes, all taxes. So that would align with a value of Idahoans. But when you get into the social issues this session, it'll be interesting to circle back at the end of the year.
Totally.
All right, Aspen Shumpert, we will be back. We told you at the beginning of the program about Beyond the 208, and we're just going to keep on going with 208 news. But up next, we have our first feel-good feature from our neighbors in Washington, who helped our neighbors in California by taking in some of their foster animals displaced by the terrible wildfires. What's your feel-good Friday news? Text it to us, or any of your questions, comments, concerns, really anything about the program. 208-321-5614. Don't forget to include your name and hashtag the 208. We will get to some of these live at the end of the show. For our first Beyond the 208 story, we're taking you to Seattle, Washington, where a special delivery of dozens of animals from Los Angeles County landed in Seattle on Sunday night. Brady Wakayama from our sister station in Seattle was on the tarmac as they arrived.
It always makes us feel really great to be able to help, to see them come off the plane. You know, they're not riding first class. You know, we can't wait to get them out of their crates.
And eventually into their forever homes.
Got them.
With help from Seattle Humane.
When these things happen, we're one of the first shelters to really step up and say, yes, we can.
Take in these 39 dogs and 18 cats from Los Angeles area shelters, currently dealing with overcrowding because of the raging wildfires.
These are pets that were already in the shelter system way before the fires hit. These are pets that have been looking for homes for weeks and months and just weren't able to find them.
Seattle Humane partnered with Paws for Life Canine Rescue and Wings of Rescue, a nonprofit that helped fly these pets from Burbank Airport to Boeing Field Sunday evening.
There's no real competition in animal welfare. We're all in it. We all want to do the same thing, which is to help as many animals as possible, get where they need to be, which is home.
He says Seattle Humane always ensures it has enough room for potential pets being transferred from other shelters, especially ones dealing with natural disasters.
Pacific Northwest, we love our animals. They are our family, and they just have a better, higher chance of being adopted a lot faster, and that will make room for a lot more pets that are displaced from the fires to be reunited with their families. Yours?
On Monday, the shelter will begin checking the animals into its system, hoping these pets will be available for adoption on Tuesday.
So we can fit like these big ones on the sides.
As the shelter continues working with nonprofits and shelters in California, always open to helping animals in need.
We look forward to saying yes again in the future and hoping to bring in even more pets.
So after the story aired on Sunday, Seattle Humane was flooded with dozens of people to adopt pets. And as of yesterday, 30 dogs and 15 cats from California found their forever homes in Washington state. Some more good news on a Friday. Spokane, Washington sent their animals the opposite direction. Isaac the Comfort Dog traveled down to Los Angeles to comfort those in the depth of destruction. Do you know of any heartwarming stories happening in our area or anything going on in or around the 208? Let us know. Text your name and hashtag the 208 to the number on your screen. 208-321-5614. We'll show yours at the end of the show today or possibly another day, depending on how much time we have. Let's get to it. The powerful Santa Ana winds have finally died down across California, finally allowing firefighters to bring almost 40,000 acres of wildfires under control. But fires have killed at least 27 people and destroyed more than 12,000 structures. People all over the country are pitching in to help, including a resident of Spokane, Washington, who is being deployed to Los Angeles to comfort those impacted by the wildfires. However, Isaac is not your traditional caregiver. He's a golden retriever who belongs to a local church.
When you arrive for church at Redeemer Lutheran in Spokane Valley, you will see traditional signs of worship. But there is something else here people gravitate to that is less traditional.
As people come through our front doors, he's one of the first faces they see.
Redeemer Lutheran is the home of Isaac, a 6.5-year-old golden retriever comfort dog. He is a 75-pound bridge between the church and anyone in need of comfort.
When people are in crisis, they can't always talk to people. People are flawed. And dogs are they're the same across the board. And we use these golden retrievers because they're known for their kind, comfortable demeanor. So it is kind of magical, yeah.
Isaac is part of a National Lutheran Church Charities program, and locally the church bought him for $15,000 to use in their ministry. Redeemer says he was the first church comfort dog in the area and has led the way for other congregations to follow his lead.
Often we talk about how the comfort that he provides comes up the leash, and it creates a human-to-human experience where we can just relate as people and get to know each other, hear each other's stories.
Reverend Drew Bayless will often lead a Sunday worship service, but he's happy to have Isaac as his wingman in the community.
It's an opportunity to ask them about their story, and if they feel comfortable voicing that, they can, and they often will.
Isaac works hard daily, taking trips to hospitals, homes, and shelters, providing hope and healing. While he lives with one family from the church, about a dozen people work with Isaac, making this program successful.
Isaac, with me.
Julie Blickert is taking Isaac on his next deployment. He's been called up to serve in Los Angeles to comfort families impacted by wildfires and to sit silent with the first responders who are at ground zero of sadness.
We so appreciate what they do, and they're the heroes down there. So we get to go in and let them have some moments with the dogs, and I'm really looking forward to that because it's just our way of giving back.
Blickert and Isaac will meet up with other people and dogs with the program, hoping a group of soulful eyes and sweetness can cast a ray of hope into a dark time.
He is absolutely a gift from God, and we're excited to be able to partner with him and share him with people.
Dogs can sometimes provide unmatched solace in the moment and build a connection with people.
You're very popular, aren't you?
Like those from Redeemer, looking to help.
Good boy.
Reporting in Spokane Valley, Laura Papetti, KREM 2 News.
Isaac is so popular that the church that they're working to expand the program to have a second comfort dog.
Okay, here's a look at our weather here in Boise. Gorgeous skies overhead as we set out towards sunset, sitting at 38 right now. Not too bad for this time of year. The wind gusts today were pretty significant. If you take a look at what we went through throughout the day, I mean, there were points where we hit 18 miles an hour, between 2 and 4, 29 miles an hour. Tonight, we still have some wind ahead of us. At the 6, we're looking at 22 miles an hour. It's going to wind down as we make our way through the night. Now, if you're trying to time out your night here in Boise, this is what you have to look forward to on your Friday. We're going to dip below freezing by the time we get to 8 o'clock tonight, so make sure you bundle up. And here's a look at your weather headlines. So we do have that Arctic blast. It's still lingering in the area, even though the winds will die down. Temps are going to hit the teens this weekend, so bundle up. MLK Day going to be especially bitter cold. And then throughout the week next week, we're looking at frigid, dry weather. And here's a look at your lows tomorrow. You're waking up to 16 in Boise, 18 in Mountain Home, 4 in McCall, -7 in Stanley, which I know they're accustomed to it, but I read it and I start to cringe and I want to grab a winter coat. Throughout the rest of the region, we're seeing 23 in Ontario, 19 in Caldwell, and for the most part, this is the headline. This is the story. For the next weekend through the week, we're going to be very chilly, friends, so make sure you're bundled up or at least cozy at home.
All right, let's see how we did. Let's take a look at some of your comments. This one from John and Jerome. Do any of the Idaho Republican legislators pay attention to the BSU survey? John, I will tell you, I haven't asked every single one down there, but maybe based on your comment, you would be surprised at how many of them do read it. Do they do anything about it based on it? Hard to say. Okay, Evan in Ada County writes, 2 weeks into the session and the legislature has done almost nothing that are the people's priorities. That is a fair comment. We will see, though, how that ages over the next several weeks and months. Dale writes, hey, Joe, glad to see you combed your hair. My wife said the same thing. And thanks for the story about the rescue animals to many disrupted lives, pet and human. Yes, they're doing some great work across the country. Really happy you were out to highlight what's happening beyond the 208. And then Connie writes in, love what the Seattle Humane Society has done. Already had many animals adopted, but what if the owners of these pets in California are looking for their pets and they have run away during the fires? To be clear, the pets that were sent to Washington, they were from shelters that were impacted by the fire. So nobody stole a pet. Hopefully all the pets will find a home soon. And we hope that you guys all have a great weekend. Bill J likes the Beyond the 208 concept. Maybe we'll get some new music to match, huh? We'll see you Monday.
Continue with us and watch free now on the KTVB Plus app everywhere you stream.